Hey, hello Facebook. I guess we're live today here at the homestead at Flat Rock. And today I'm going to show you how we're going to plant 5,000 bulbils here, 5,000 somewhere else, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with the rest of the bulbils that we have. But before we start, I want to tell everybody to follow our page. Please like our page if you want to, and tell your friends to follow along also. We also have social media on Twitter, on Instagram, and also on YouTube, and I'll post those things in the link when we actually get the video finished. So, what are bulbils? Okay, so bulbils are actually the seed of garlic, not a true seed, but in essence, they're little tiny bulbs of garlic that are basically a clone of the original plant, and they're pretty small, as you can see. So how do you go about seeding these one by one? And given that they're fairly slow growers, you know, how do you transplant them once they're already seeded? So we're going to come up, or we've come up with what I think is a pretty unique method for doing this. But basically it involves using a webbed tray like this. You might wonder what we're going to do with this. Well, this is going to go inside of a normal tray, and in essence, the thing is we just pour soil in, and what we're going to see is that we do this, and we distribute the soil around, pack it down like so, and we put our bulbils in here, which I'm going to do in a minute, and we put more soil on top of them. What we end up with is basically a tray and a tray with soil in it and the bulbils inside of the web tray. So when it comes time to transplant, if you don't want to, I guess, disrupt the roots, then all you do is you lift the web tray with most of the soil intact. All of the roots and everything will be in here, and you pop this right down into the ground. That's our plan. So we'll be able to basically plant around 200 rounds or 200 bulbils in one of these, and this whole thing just gets plopped right down into the soil outside, basically sometime in April or May. So that's kind of the plan, and I think that it'll work. It looks like it's going to work pretty good. I'm just going to move this out of the way. Alright, so we got a whole load of varieties that we're going to try here. Some of them people have tried, other ones people maybe haven't. But there are a variety of porcelains, and there's some red Russians, and there's also a turban here. So we have a Great Northern, we have a Dan's Russian, Polish gin, Dugansky, Yugoslavian porcelain, we have the Newfoundland tall. We have loads of those, and we're going to hopefully be able to get maybe 3,000 heads of garlic out of those eventually. Costin's Red Russian, Susan Delafield, Portugal Azores, Red Russian, Colorado Black, which is a turban, which I'm going to show you how we're going to do that one in a minute. That's a little bit different, and a mammoth. So porcelains are pretty uniform in terms of the number of bulbils that you have on a flower, and they typically work out to be 80 to 100. So if you were to take about a teaspoon worth of Newfoundland tall bulbils like this, there's about 100 in here. So basically this is enough to do half of a tray. So the plan is to put about 200, 240 in the tray. So this is enough to do a half of a tray. So the procedure here is pretty simple. The soil is already been mixed, and it's the standard greenhouse mix that I use for everything. And that's actually in a YouTube video on our YouTube channel. It's 5 simple ingredients to build your greenhouse soil mix. But basically, you know, planting these is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to scatter them around the same way as you would scatter, let's say, onions in a tray. This is exactly what I did for my onions also. And you're trying to do it fairly uniformly. And, you know, if in the end it doesn't look quite as uniform as what you would like, then you can kind of just move them around with the end of the spoon. So here we go. Here's another, I guess, 100 to 120. And I'm trying to scatter them just so that they're inside of the web tray. And that way when I go to lift the web tray, there'll be kind of minimal disruption to the roots of the bulbils. And like I said, any that appear to be close together, you know, just move them around. Just move them around so that they're nice and scattered. And some of these actually look like this guy. Looks like they may have dried out in storage. So just to be safe, I'm going to add maybe a few more through the whole tray, just to be safe. And there we go. So that's it for about 220 to 240 bulbils right there. Now, what are we going to use for fertilizer? Well, the mix that I'm using is already pretty fertile, at least according to what I've had measure. And the thing is, though, is that we want this to kind of last for some time. It's going to be at least, I would say, a couple months before these go in soil outside. And we want kind of minimal upkeep. So what I've decided to use is this Earth Alive Soil Activator. And this is an interesting product. It's actually approved for organic use, and you know, it's certified OMRI Canada. Comes in a 1 kilogram bag, but basically it's a wood byproduct. It's basically a wood byproduct that's made with bark and wood chips and whatnot. And in essence, what happens is there's 3 different types of bacteria in here. And those 3 bacteria actually help break down that, I guess, that wood mulch, and they actually turns it into some soluble nutrients. And there's a type of bacteria normally that would actually, you know, would colonize the root zones of plants. And you can look that up, I guess, on Amazon is where I got it. It's called Soil Activator. We can get a close-up of that one there. So this guy here, about 50 grams or so of this in about 8 liters of water. And you get kind of a brown, kind of weird looking solution, but and it smells mostly of kind of wood bark and chips. But basically you just water that in like this, and just a little bit. I mean, just, it doesn't need a lot because we're going to water it from above after. And now that I have that done, basically I just need to add my layer of soil on top. So I'm going to come back to my soil mix, and I'm going to grab the amount of soil that I need. I have all of my buckets marked on the inside, so I know exactly how much soil that I need for each tray. And I layer that on top of the bulbils, like so, and like so, all the way around. Make sure that it's nice and even, and kind of, you know, doesn't need to be packed down hard, but kind of just, you know, nice and uniform, like so. And finally, watering from the top. Oops, sorry. I got a clog here somewhere, about a little bit. Yeah, sorry, mechanical difficulties here. So that's no problem. We will bypass that part, and I'll just add a little more water from the Earth Activator for now, just to finish everything up. This stuff is pretty harmless in terms of its fertilizing value. It's basically, like I said, it's just a wood bark mulch. You can see it's brown in color, and it pretty much just smells like dirt, like wood mulch and dirt. So, with that in mind now, we have at least 25 more trays here to plant, and that will account for about 5,000 bulbils total. So what are we going to do with the rest of them? So as it happens, a friend of mine who's also in this project is actually going to plant another 5,000. So that'll be a total of 10. And then the other 5,000 that's left out of everything is actually going to be propagated outside, directly in soil, you know, sometime around, I would say, you know, the beginning to mid-April under row cover. These guys have already been vernalized. I don't know how many people know about vernalization, but it's important to have bulbils and whatnot cold for a certain amount of time in order for them to grow properly. So that's something that anybody getting into garlic should look up, vernalization. So with that being said, I got a lot more work to do. So follow us along on Facebook, and as the project moves ahead and we actually see some germination on these guys, I'll be posting it on Facebook, and we can see how this project kind of folds out over the next year or two. So this is a long-term thing. Anyway, thanks Facebook. We'll talk to you next time.